I am pricking out some seedlings that were wild collected in Taiwan. And it is classified as vulnerable on the conservation list, and it's been collected by our team, and we are going to raise them from seed and help redistribute them.
Welcome to Bedgebury Pinetum, home of the National Conifer Collection, probably the largest collection of conifers on one site anywhere in the world. In their natural habitat, conifers are one of the most threatened groups of plants or animals on the planet, with over a third of conifer species threatened with extinction. And that's really important, the work that Bedgebury are doing to help conserve these trees in their natural habitats and here in the National Pinetum. But Bedgebury wasn't originally set up with this goal in mind.
In the 1800s, a lot of the estates were bought up, and this estate was bought by the Beresfords. Viscount Marshal Beresford fought in the Peninsular Wars with Wellington, and we have a legacy here. We have one of the Sequoia Dendron giganteum planted in the 1800s, and that's known as the Wellingtonia. In the 1920s, the recently formed Forestry Commission, in discussion with Kew Gardens and Sir Arthur Hill, the director at Kew Gardens, were looking at places to grow conifers outside of London due to the smog and the poor soil quality. Bedgebury was an ideal site because it already had a Victorian pleasure grounds, and conifers were growing really healthily in the southeast. William Dallymore, who was the first curator at Bedgebury Pinetum, laid out the collection in taxonomical order. You had all your spruces together, your pines together, and that's really important so that he could take detailed records of how those trees are growing in relation to each other and also the soils.
The Great Storm of 1987 changed the way that the Pinetum was managed by Forestry Commission, away from taxonomic collections of trees into a much more mixed arrangement of planting. But there was undoubtedly a huge amount of work going on in the Pinetum to rebuild after the storm. The Friends of Bedgebury Pinetum was formed in 1993. There was a huge group of regulars who were just so passionate about the Pinetum. But 10 of them were invited by Forestry Commission, as it was then, to form a Friends of group, and it was the regulars who came and were the first operational volunteers in the Pinetum. Critical to any ex situ collection of trees, like Bedgebury as a collection arboretum for conifers, is that they not only collect seed from native ranges in order to plant in the collection, but they also then return and restore trees to their native ranges. And it's a two-way path between the ex situ and the in situ collections. And the very earliest staff here and the Friends of organisation recognised that. And we were involved in funding and supporting or telling the stories of all of the collecting trips that followed after that.
A quarter of the trees in the collection are endangered. For example, this tree here, this is Afrotaxus selaginoides, locally known as the King William pine. And this tree was planted here in 2009. The seed was collected by a member of our staff who went to Tasmania, where it grows in the wild. The seed was brought back here, grown in our nursery, and then planted out here in the plots with eucalyptus trees, where it's obviously very happy. You can see on the tree that it has cones on it, so we could actually take cones and grow some more trees if we wanted to. When we go out collecting in the wild, we'll make sure we collect from different trees from different areas. Then when they're brought back, each seed will have a different genetic diversity, and then the trees that we're planted here, they're all unique in their own sweet way. There are nearly 12,000 specimen trees in the collection, and for every tree in the collection there's an area in the database which lists where the tree came from in the wild and how it came to us, how we grew it on in our nursery, and then how we planted it out, and then we will record any health issues that happen to that tree so we can predict the future for some of these trees. We're planting lots of different rare and endangered conifers to see if we can increase the genetic diversity of these trees. And as far as we know, there's nowhere else in the world doing it in quite the same scale that we're doing it on.
The nursery really is the heart of the Pinetum, and this is where we achieve some world firsts in terms of propagation. It's quite a small nursery. We have a few polytunnels, a few shade beds. We plant hundreds and hundreds of seeds every year with a lot of success. It's small but prolific. The conservation of conifers and working with critically endangered trees, for example this Xanthosoparis vietnamensis, we were the first nursery to successfully propagate it from seed and stop it from going extinct. We'll share this information with other botanic gardens to preserve this from extinction in the future. So the work we do at Bedgebury is making a very important difference to the world.
Most of these trees are highly threatened in the wild because of climate change, biodiversity loss, illegal logging. All those things are factored into how we manage the tree collection today. What I love about this vista is it pays homage to our past and all the trees around it, or what we've been working over the last 20, 30 years. There's trees from all over the world, many which we've collected ourselves, many are now threatened in the wild. And actually you're putting them in and creating this wonderful, wonderful landscape for people to enjoy for the future. My great-great-grandchildren will hopefully be able to walk down here and see these trees in the future, because we are trying to find trees that are resilient to a changing climate. The habitat all around the trees is really, really important for all the native bats, birds, all the wildflowers. We call Bedgebury home, and they call it home because of the way the Pinetum's laid out. It's the open space, it's the space around the trees. No one organisation can serve everything, so working in partnership with different people all over the world is really, really important to conserving these trees in their natural habitats.
Being part of a bigger picture, being involved in all the botanical gardens from around the world, collaborative working in Malawi, in Bosnia, in America, in Spain, and being part of that journey and that group of people that really are passionate about looking after the planet and looking after species.
We were lucky enough in 2006 to receive funding from Sport England to create a new visitor centre to offer up the wider forest to the public, to give them a more opportunity to see the site. And now it's a great place to go, find out more about what goes on in the Pinetum, the really important conservation work that happens, also to grab a really nice cup of tea and a lovely slice of cake too.
What it does here is so important, and it's such a beautiful place.
It feels like there's a beating heart to the place. You can't quite put your finger on Bedgebury, but every day you come, it looks different. There's something different to do, something different to see. And there's so much variety to see in all the different trees, and I just love spending time here.